It looks like New World is going to be getting some massive combat changes quite soon, and I have to say, it's very interesting. Quickly though, if you want to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is the best way, otherwise consider following me over on Twitch. Unfortunately, we just have a blog post right now. We don't have the actual changes involved, but I think it's going to be pretty important for, well, pretty much everybody who plays New World. So let's go through some of what they're talking about here. The first thing they write is that we wanted to provide an update around combat balance. As you may know, we are always reading feedback, tuning, testing, and iterating on weapons, their perks, and combat. You may know that, you might not. It's debatable whether or not they are actually reading it that quickly, but you know, it is what it is. But here is where things get really spicy. There are a few trends that have emerged that we have been internally testing balance changes around, namely for Firestaff, bow, musket, hatchet, and greatsword. Now, to a lot of people out there, they'll be cheering in the streets. Okay, well, maybe not the streets, but you'll be very happy to hear that, I think. And key thing to note here is that the initial weapon and perk updates will be coming to the PTR in the very near future. That basically means I think it's going to be this week, and I think it's going to have the leaderboard on, and I think it's going to have the influence changes on. Going to be a huge week. I don't know why I said it like that, but we've said it now. And they're doing that with the aim to improve the viability of magical weapons in PvE and some PvP scenarios, and range weapons in PvE scenarios. So basically here, magic weapons are not really getting used in mutations. Most of the time it's melee players, right? They obviously want to change that. It's the same with some PvP scenarios. I don't know, when I'm in arena, for example, it always feels like mages do an absolute shed ton of damage, but then that's all they really do. So maybe that's what they're talking about there when it comes to PvP scenarios. They don't want to overtune it. And when they say range weapons in PvE, that basically means nobody's using bow or musket in PvE in general, right? So they're wanting to address that. Good. Sounds perfect so far. On the other side of the coin, we are testing changes to reduce the power of some melee weapons and range weapons in PvP. So bow and musket, for example, would be the range weapons they're talking about there, and the melee weapons are obviously going to be the hatchet and the greatsword that they mentioned. Now, personally, as a sort of medium bruisery kind of person, the greatsword is just about the only way I can kill people. So I'll be a little bit sad to see that go, but you know, I understand it's for the greater good. The hatchet just seems busted almost all the time, defy death and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, the hatchet just seems really annoying. It seems like one of the most annoying weapons in the game to me. They just never seem to have it balanced correctly, but you know, that's just my opinion. And the next one I think is absolutely huge. In addition to weapons, we are also reviewing equip loads to ensure a good balance between survivability and utility. I really hope that they go far enough and in the right direction with this one. Personally, a little bit fed up of the light meta. It's light meta in mutations, it's light meta in PvP, it's light meta pretty much everywhere. Now, medium and heavy have actually got a lot better. Several months ago, like, it was, you couldn't really do anything without light. Now you can sort of do medium in PvP. Heavy, not unviable necessarily in some circumstances, and I actually don't see this affecting mutations. I think if you're going to try and run mutations as quickly as possible, then doing light armor and doing as much damage as you can probably makes sense, right? It just sort of increases the risk, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But yeah, like, let's see where they go with this. So survivability, probably talking about light armor. I think light armor is still too survivable. You're likely to not die because you're going to be able to get around the map so quickly. Utility, not 100% sure what they mean there, but maybe they just mean dodging. Like, it's better than it was, but I still find it a little bit frustrating. The next bit just says they're happy to see our feedback. They'll be available on the PTR and they'll be iterating on the PTR. So this is really big and important. I guess now's the right time to do it. The next PTR probably isn't the spring patch. I don't think it's going to have the Empyrean new expedition in and stuff like that. I think the spring part of the roadmap probably not included in the next PTR. In the next PTR, I think we'll get influence push and the leaderboards, and we'll get these changes. But they sound like what the community wants, right? We all know that Firestaff Flamethrower is broken in arena. I'm joking in case anybody's wondering what the hell I'm talking about. But really, magic weapons probably a little bit underpowered, right? We all know that bow and musket in like PvP is just really frustrating to play against. We've all known that the hatchet's been busted since day one. But it keeps coming and going, I guess, a little bit. It's just one of those things. The greatsword also probably been overtuned since release, especially if you compare it to something like the greatsword, right? So I think the weapons that they've like called out here, I think would make sense. A bit of me thinks like the Void Gauntlet should like be getting in on here somewhere. By the way, they've just updated this in another language. I don't know why, but I just thought I'd mention it. And I think they're right in saying that basically the magical weapons need buffing in PvE and some PvP. I think they have to be a little bit careful not to go overboard on the PvP. I think the ranged weapons like bow musket absolutely pointless in PvE at the minute, so hopefully they'll get that sorted as well. And the melee weapons they're talking in PvP, that's obviously hatchet and greatsword, and the range weapons they're talking in PvP, Well, that's obviously bow and musket, right? Just really good sounding changes, and if they get the light, medium, heavy correct as well, yeah, this could be really fascinating, right? The worry as ever is that they'll make these changes and what we'll see is another weapon or another few weapons that just become the standout meta, right? That's probably going to happen anyway. What I would personally like to see is perhaps a little bit more reaction when it comes to the meta, especially when it's creating like an unfun meta. Something like the bow musket, for example. I'm not sure anybody who's not playing those weapons is actually enjoying them. Maybe I'm wrong though. But yeah, it feels like you either do and you enjoy it, or you don't and you hate them. Those things I think they should sort of maybe react a little bit quicker. But that's just my opinion. It's nice to see them mention equip worlds. I think that change for me has always been frustrating since day one. I hope this time they get it right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about these changes. If you want to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is the best way. Otherwise, come and give me a follow over on Twitch. Have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.